Hi there, my name's Rick O'Hara and we're here to show you a new planetarium that I just installed in our family room today. And with us are four of my favorite neighbors in the whole world. And your name?
Cam.
And?
Brittle.
And?
Caleb.
Okay, we have the walkers.
And Beanie.
And Beanie. Okay, we're here to show you the planetarium we put in. You can do this very same thing. You can learn to find the constellations as they appear outdoors, indoors, with the planetarium in your own bedroom or living room. So let's turn out the lights and look at some stars. Okay, let's turn off our lights.
Cool. Wow. Pretty. Wow, sweet. Awesome.
You can expect a reaction kind of like this every time you see a new planetarium.
This is so awesome, Mr. O'Hara.
Why, thank you. Okay, now let's have a little quiet so I can point out some of the constellations here. Hi, I'm Rick O'Hara. I'm going to show you how to use this kit to create an amazingly realistic planetarium in your own home. This planetarium will look just like the night sky did to the wise men on the very first Christmas. It was December 25, 2 BC, and they were in Jerusalem. The Star of Bethlehem guided them to the Christ child. Before we get into the details of creating the planetarium, let's talk about the Star of Bethlehem. The instructions in this video are based on Rick Larson's research into astronomy and the Bible. He shows that the Star of Bethlehem was real and that it was planned by God at the moment He created the universe. I'm only going to provide a brief summary of his findings. If you're interested in learning more, I recommend Larson's video and website. He shows how we can use modern astronomy software to recreate the first Christmas and demonstrate exactly how the Star of Bethlehem led the wise men to the Christ child. Based on evidence in the Bible and a reconstruction of astronomical events that took place during the latter days of the reign of King Herod, Larson discovered that the planet Jupiter fit the Bible's descriptions of the Star of Bethlehem. The scholars in Babylon, who were called Magi, watched the stars and planets very carefully and believed that they provided signs foretelling important events. It's not surprising that they attached great significance to Jupiter. First of all, Jupiter was associated with kings. The ancient Greeks thought Jupiter represented Zeus, who was the king of their gods, and later the Romans associated it with their king god, Jupiter. The Magi saw this planet as representing the true king of creation, the Son of God. Because it is a planet and not a star, Jupiter can seem to stop, reverse direction, and then continue on its normal path. Modern astronomers call this retrograde motion, and it is due to the way the planets orbit the sun. Because of this irregular motion, the planets were seen by many early cultures as divine, or as emissaries of the gods. For these reasons, Jupiter was given special importance by the ancient astronomers. Using astronomy software, I'm going to show you how the night sky appeared to the wise men before the birth of Christ. First, we'll see how the Star of Bethlehem foretells the coming of the King of the Jews. Then, we'll see how Jupiter turned into the brightest star in the sky, pointing the Magi towards Jerusalem. Finally, we'll see how Jupiter led the wise men from Jerusalem to Bethlehem and came to a complete halt directly over Bethlehem. When we get to the instructions for creating your planetarium, I'll show you how to create the night skies that look exactly like any of these amazing events. Okay, let's look at how the Star of Bethlehem foretold the coming of the King of the Jews. From early September of 3 BC to May of 2 BC, the Magi in Babylon saw an amazing sight, one that they had never seen before. It involved the planet Jupiter and the star they thought of as the King's Star, Regulus. In fact, Regulus means little king in Latin. The event they saw was a triple conjunction of the king planet. A conjunction is when one star appears to come very close to another star. Notice how Jupiter passes very close to Regulus, reverses direction and passes by it again, and reverses again to pass by for a total of 3 times. Because Jupiter was the king's star, the Magi would have interpreted such an unusual event as very important. We used a professional astronomy software package called Starry Night to recreate night sky in Babylon where the wise men lived. We're tracing Jupiter from September of 3 BC to June 27 of 2 BC. During that time, Jupiter had a triple conjunction with Regulus, and in so doing, drew a crown around Regulus. You can see that Regulus is at the foot of the Leo constellation, which you can see outlined here. Leo is a constellation that represents kings, and it has also always been associated with the Jewish tribe of Judah. Jewish prophecy predicted that the Messiah would come from the tribe of Judah. To quote the book of Genesis, chapter 49, "You are a lion's cub, O Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs, and the obedience of the nations is his." Thus, to have the king planet circling the king's star in the constellation of the tribe of Judah would be interpreted by the wise men as a crowning, a coronation foretelling the coming of the King of the Jews. Now, why would the Magi care about the Jews? Many historians believe that they were of Jewish descent themselves, descended from the school of Daniel while he was in Babylon. Now that the Magi had been told of the coming of Christ, how could they know where to find him? The Star of Bethlehem gave them another very special sign. At the end of the coronation we just saw, the star pointed the Magi towards Jerusalem. As you can see from the map, Jerusalem is west of Babylon. A very special event occurred on June 16th, 2 BC that pointed them towards Jerusalem. Let's take a look. Okay, the coronation has just been completed. The wise men have been alerted that the King of the Jews is coming, and now they need to know where to find him. This is the western sky in Babylon that the wise men saw on June 16th, 2 BC. On that day, Jupiter came into conjunction with the planet Venus. The two passed so close to each other that they couldn't be distinguished from one another, and appeared as the brightest star in the sky, pointing west towards Jerusalem. It's almost 6 p.m. and getting close to sunset. The Star of Bethlehem is the very first star to appear. Indeed, it's the only star you can see until it gets dark, and then it's by far the brightest star in the sky. The Star of Bethlehem has pointed them west. This is what set them on their journey to Jerusalem. The Magi probably arrived in Jerusalem sometime in December of 2 BC. King Herod told them about the Jewish prophecy that the King of the Jews would come from Bethlehem. As Matthew 2 states, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." After meeting with King Herod, they would undoubtedly have looked to the skies again for another sign of where to find the Christ child. At that time, Jupiter was in the Virgo constellation, symbolizing the Virgin Mary. This picture shows the sky as it appeared in Jerusalem on December 5th of 2 BC. You can see Jupiter is already in the Virgo constellation. Let's turn on the clock. Jupiter slowly descended to the area representing Mary's breast and came to a complete halt there on December 25, where it remained for 10 days before reversing direction. From Jerusalem, it would appear that Jupiter had stopped directly over Bethlehem. This led the Magi directly to the Christ child on the very first Christmas. This confirms the Bible's description of the star over Bethlehem perfectly. As Matthew 2 verses 9 and 10 state, after they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. Now, bear in mind that the planets move according to strict rules, which is why we can know exactly where they were in the past and where they're going to be in the future. For Jupiter, the Star of Bethlehem, to have provided all these signs to the Magi, foretelling the birth of Christ and then leading them to Bethlehem, means that God had to have set all these events up at the moment he created the universe. He knew at the moment of creation exactly when and where he would send his Son to save us. This is truly an awesome, humbling thought. Now that I've given you a very brief introduction to the Star of Bethlehem, let me show you how to recreate these events, displaying these night skies just as they appeared to the Magi over 2,000 years ago. You too can see the Star of Bethlehem in your very own home. So let's get to it. We're going to start by looking at the tools you'll need to create that first Christmas sky: the star projector and the star paint.